everyone. Thank you for tuning in to my interview with Ching. I'm so honored to be here. My name is Ny MaGee. I've worked in the entertainment business for 20 years. I've worked in production, post production, marketing, acquisitions, development for the past almost 10 years, not quite 10 years, but we're getting there. I have worked as an entertainment journalist. 8 years or so, I've worked as an entertainment journalist, celebrity reporter, meaning I cover news related to culture, film, television. I interview directors, producers, actors, a lot of above the line, below the line talent, musicians. Outside of that, I do cover lifestyle, human interest stories, stories related to crime, a lot of crime, because for some strange reason, we, the consumer, the public, the reader, we love crime stories, stories about blood and gore and trauma. We love it. We eat it up, right? Um, and
Drama.
yeah, we love the drama. So that's in a nutshell what I do for a living. Outside of that, I come from the independent filmmaking space. That is how I got my start in the film business, living in California. I lived in California for 20 years, born and raised in Chicago. Went to film school at Columbia College in Chicago before I graduated and moved to LA. And you know what? I hit the ground running. The minute I graduated, I got a job. It's really interesting, family. I got a job the minute I graduated. I moved to LA, got a job working at the Hustler store, Larry Flynt, Penthouse magazine. I worked at the Hustler store, and that was kind of a adult store slash coffee shop. So I worked in the coffee shop, and I often made banana smoothies for Mr. Flint himself. He
A
would come
woman
in
with
there.
multi-talent.
And at the same time, I also worked at Miramax. My first job was working at Miramax. I got a internship right away for about a month working for Quentin Tarantino's production team, which at the time I had no idea. These very dynamic women I worked for um, right out the gate, Kim Berman, Shannon McIntosh. They gave me an opportunity. You can look up Shannon McIntosh's credits on IMDb. To this day, she still is an EP for Tarantino. She's considered Tarantino's right hand woman, right? So, and that opened the door, that opened many doors, that opportunity working at Miramax that was in 2000. And I worked there for maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And from there, I went on to work for, I'm pushing my earbuds in. And from there, I went on to work for MTV, VH1, Paramount Pictures, the Jim Henson Company. I worked for the legendary Roger Corman, if anybody knows who Roger Corman is. And was pretty much a blast because as a young girl growing up in the Midwest, I'm born and raised in Chicago, Roger Corman was one of the filmmakers that I greatly admired as a young girl, right? As a young like a young dreamer, as they say. When I was 10, 11, 12, watching horror movies and B movies, and I came across Roger Corman and just became a fan of his work. And even in film school, I took a Roger Corman course. There was a course we had at Columbia College on Roger Corman, and I couldn't have imagined that one day I would end up working for Roger Corman. So that was a wonderful experience. So in a nutshell, that's my intro. That is me. That is Nye, and I will be quiet now. So so she can ask
Yeah.
me whatever she wants.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. This is a really nice intro. And give us a story of your kind of a journey and resume bio. And now, my name is Ching Juhl. I do this live interview since March 2020, since the lockdown, because I need to see my friends. I need to see my family. So I would like interview like my brother in China, interview my child who just started to who was locked down because the COVID. You know, he was in college the second year, and then what else? And interview a lot of musicians, lots of filmmakers, And then eventually, a year ago, I joined Clubhouse. So I've been interviewing Clubhouse artists, including you, and we met on Clubhouse and
That's
Darren
right.
Down newsroom.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. So speaking of Clubhouse, how did you get in? Did you just stumble on it, or you knew any of us?
I had heard about Clubhouse when Clubhouse first launched. I maybe what, a year or so ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I heard about it on Twitter, and I heard about it because I guess at that time it was being beta tested by a number of celebrities, right? And at that time, I was using an Android. I have an iPhone, but it's a very old model iPhone. I haven't used it in ages. I have my own personal reasons why I will not spend a great deal of money on cell phones. So I have my very cheap Android that I'm happy with. And
Mhm.
so when Clubhouse launched, I was intrigued,
Mhm.
but I couldn't use it because it was only available for iPhone users.
Yeah, it's a snobbish thing, only for
Yeah,
iPhone.
yeah. And so once it launched for Android, I said, okay, well, let me go on there and see what it's all about. I had no idea what the app was all about. And so I go on there. I didn't know anything about hallways, curating rooms, adding people in order to expand your hallway. And if you don't know Clubhouse, for anybody watching, I'm using lingo that is very foreign to you unless you use the app, like hallways, rooms. You don't know what
Oh
any of that
no,
means.
follow me,
Yeah, follow me,
follow you.
add a friend.
Yeah.
So Darian Beyonju was one of the first people that I kept seeing pop up in the hallway. And he was hosting his 1 minute film school. And I said, well, I had started during COVID, I had started, finally got legit and registered my business in Chicago after moving back home to Chicago. Got all the paperwork in order.
Whoop.
I want to get involved with the independent filmmaking community. I want to expand my network of independent filmmakers here in the Midwest and beyond. And so I used Darian's room as a catalyst for that because his room was one of the first rooms I saw, right? And that was the beginning of my relationship with Clubhouse. And then I started to see regular people like you always frequenting Darian's room and the space that he was creating to foster independent filmmakers, to encourage independent filmmakers to stay inspired, stay encouraged, especially during COVID, how to shoot films on a budget. And I just felt like, wow, calling people up on the stage, landing the plane, exactly, Shark FinTech, the lingo, right. So I felt like Darien Space was a great catalyst, a great room to begin networking with independent filmmakers. And that's how I kind of met you and other really passionate content creators like yourself. And it's been over a year now. And I don't use Clubhouse as much as I should because sometimes I get social anxiety, if you can believe that. Um,
You?
so, yeah,
Yeah.
oddly enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a really great app to meet and network with independent content creators. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I met you, and you're very generous. You are one of the sponsors for Daring Dangju 1 Minute School, and you donate money, and so that's very generous. Now back to you become a celebrity journalist. Now, how what is the transition already? I think you already said study with someone and then slowly. So how does someone become a reporter from a film background? Like how
Well,
does this transition?
it was very interesting. It wasn't even one that I anticipated, but I have to go back to when I think back to my very first year working in entertainment business at Miramax. Even though was working in post production as an assistant editor, there were moments where there was a producer there. She would also often take me out to red carpet interviews, often take me out to junkets, often take me out to film premieres related to Miramax, and allow me to interview the talent. Right, and I didn't realize then that I was being molded for a career that would come many, many, many years later, right? So how I got into celebrity journalism or entertainment reporting, it came about. I have always been a fan of pop culture. You know, I'm a pop culture junkie. I've always loved reading about celebrity news, celebrity entertainment, right? Ever since I was a young girl. And so sometime in the mid 2000s, I'm not even sure to be honest with you, right around the time that blogs became really popular. Perez Hilton delisted, you know, before we used to read People magazine, Entertainment Weekly. If you wanted the entertainment news, you had to go to the newsstand and physically pick up a magazine and read the latest entertainment news, right?
Yeah.
But then bloggers came along and said, we're going to flip the script on entertainment news. We're going to tell you what they're reporting, but we're going to put our own like snarky opinion on it. We're
Mm.
going to talk smack about it. We're going to trash talk celebrities. We're going to be snarky. We're going to post salacious headlines, and the public ate it up, right?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was almost like, you know, we went from reading celebrity entertainment and everything we would say out loud while we were reading the news, like, imagine you be reading something about your favorite celebrity and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't believe that. Did they do that? Did they really say that? Are they really dating? Oh my God. Suddenly bloggers created this space where they were saying what we were thinking. They were saying it out loud. And then they created forums and comment sections where you could go in and engage with people who were sharing the same ideas and the same opinions that you had with no filter, right?
Mm.
About some of these same celebrities. So that's kind of how it started. I was working 9 to 5s. I fell in love. I was working 9 to 5s in the filmmaking and, in the industry, various office jobs, production jobs. And then I fell in love with the blogs, and I decided I'm going to create a blog, right? So I created a blog.
Mm.
That blog turned into a podcast. That podcast turned into a online an internet radio station where we were broadcasting music 24/7, hosting talk shows like internet talk shows, right? And then one day I got a call from a guy who is a icon in the radio industry, right? He's a radio DJ veteran, and he was looking for a writer for one of his outlets. And I applied. I think I saw an ad on Craigslist or something, and I applied for it. And I sent him some samples of my work. I said, well, listen, this is what I've been doing. Even though I come from a filmmaking background, I also host a podcast. I have all these blogs that I run where I talk about entertainment, gossip, and news. And he looked it over. He liked it. He hired me. And I think 2 days after he hired me, he gave my first real celebrity interview was with Steve Harvey.
Wow.
And that was like I was so nervous going in to talk to Steve Harvey,
Yeah.
but it was a great dynamic interview, right? And that just opened the doors for many more outlets. I ended up working for BET. I ended up working for, from there, the Emmys, covering the Emmy Awards, covering the Oscars, and then covering writing for various online outlets at this point. So that's pretty much how I transitioned from filmmaker to celebrity journalist.
Wow, wow, that's interesting. I always believe one thing leads to another. So you're like your example of one thing and leads to another, right? And then that another thing leads to another thing. So I always think people should be open minded, right? And then just do that one thing. Doesn't really matter which thing, right? If you don't do anything, then you just sit there doing nothing.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so what is in terms of style of interviewing? Now you got interview Steve Harvey right away. You interview many so-called very famous people like Oprah. Uh, how do you prepare? Like, do you prepare notes beforehand? What is your process? And of course, you have to think about who is your audience, right? Because if you interview someone for a magazine, it's different. If you someone interview someone in the red carpet, it's different, right? It's much shorter. So, can you share with us a little bit about how do you prepare your as an interviewee?
Absolutely. Well, like you just said, first I have to take in the time. How much time is going to be given with the talent? You're right. If it's on the red carpet, you only have maybe 2, 3 minutes. And sometimes on the red carpet, you might be grouped or paired with other journalists, and everyone wants to get their question out, right? And so, if that's the case, if I know I'm going to be paired, or if I know I only have a short amount of time, whether I'm on the red carpet or maybe it's a round table interview, very intimate setting with multiple journalists, and maybe each one of us only has 1 or 2 questions. I've been doing this long enough to know there are common questions that every interviewer asks a subject, and I always avoid those common questions. If I'm limited, if my time is limited, there's like a top 5 list of common questions that are guaranteed to be asked, so I avoid them. Someone's generally going to ask them. What I do is try to ask the questions that are going to elicit a very lengthy answer, the type of question that makes the subject think, right? The type of question that makes the subject kind of pause and want to give you a very profound answer. Let me quickly give you an example that comes to mind. Paul Bettany, the actor Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany played the Unabomber a couple of years ago for Discovery Channel, I think. And I remember being at an event with multiple actors, excuse me, multiple reporters for Discovery. I believe it was Discovery Channel. I could be wrong. Forgive me, network, if I'm wrong. But I believe it was Discovery Channel event that they hosted for a number of journalists. And so all the actors are walking around, and it's kind of one of those things where you get in where you fit in. If you see an actor in a space available to chat, go up to him or her, chat. So I saw Paul Bettany kind of standing off in the corner talking with just one male journalist. So I said, great. Let me go over here and ask him this one question. Now, let me back up. Earlier, before the party where the journalists were allowed to interact with the talent, they hosted a panel with all of the cast and journalists in one room, and that probably went on for a good 45 minutes. And no one asked Paul Bettany like the most important question. He's playing the Unabomber, and no one asked him, "Hey, did you get a chance to talk to the Unabomber? Or if you could talk to, forgive me because I don't know if he's still alive. Ted Kaczynski, I think is his name. Or if you could speak to him, what would you ask him?" Right? These are the type of questions that I would ask. You're an actor. Actors like to deep dive into their subject, right? Into that
Yeah.
world.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you do? What steps did you take? What's your process to fully occupy the headspace of the Unabomber? And no one asked him this. And I'm like, what is going on? So I wait, and then I see him over there. And as I'm walking up, the interviewer's asking him some questions that he's really not liking. And I'm like, ooh, what's going on? And Paul he's being polite, but you could tell he's a little kind of tested, right?
Mm.
So then I ask him my question, which is, I don't even remember what it was now, but it was related to, if you could speak to him, what would you say? If you had a chance to ask him your questions, the Unabomber, if you could sit down and talk to him, pick his brain. And he loved the fact that I asked him that. And he took like 10, 15 minutes to give me a really great answer, right? That I used as an exclusive. It was wonderful. So that was a really long way to answer your question. How do I prepare? I always make sure that I ask questions that I know no one else is going to ask or has asked, or if they have asked the talent, I find a way to reword the question, right? I also make sure to ask questions, again, depending on how much time I have. A standard interview generally is 10 to 15 minutes via phone or video. I make sure to break the ice. I always start off doing my research on the talent, the movie that they're promoting, anything that they've promoted within the past year or so that I can ask them about if the studio will allow. Sometimes the studio will only want you to keep it focused on what they're promoting. If they're promoting the new Aquaman,
Right.
don't ask them about the television show they did for Fox. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, but I try, if I know I get a good 10, 15 minutes with the talent, I try to ask questions that are icebreakers,
Mm-hmm.
because if you can break the ice right away, you can make
Mm-hmm.
the talent feel very comfortable,
Yeah.
and they'll want to talk to you. They'll want to open up.
Mm-hmm.
They'll want to stay on the phone with you longer.
Right.
No, I've had talent at the end of the interview ask me out to dinner,
Mm-hmm.
told me to meet them. They'll be like, I'm gonna be performing this Sunday. I'll
Mm.
put you on the list. Come out and celebrate. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it'll start off really like cold and unfamiliar,
Right.
but I try to ask the questions that by the end of it, we're laughing, we feel like family,
Mm.
or the next time I have an opportunity to speak with that person when they're promoting something else, they
Mm.
remember me and they're like, hey, nice, so fun to speak
Yeah.
with you again. Or so yeah, I try to ask questions that are not yes, no. You don't want to get, you don't want to throw out questions that just elicit or give will give just a yes no
Mm.
response,
Right.
right? So yeah, I try to ask not tough questions, but questions that make the talent, I like to say, think.
Mm-hmm.
To
Yeah.
put it that simply, just make them think, because they're so used to say asking questions like, well, what was it like filming with so and so, and how does it feel to be back for the third film in the franchise? Well, of course they're not going to say anything bad.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, it feels great, or
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here,
Right.
or working with Samuel L. Jackson was a wonderful experience. We already know that.
Right.
So let's get them. Let's push the button a little bit. Let's make them dig deep into their consciousness or into their, creative process
Mm-hmm.
to really explain what this filmmaking experience truly meant for them and what they hope it means for the audience.
Right. Right. Very good. Very good. And your comment reminds me of because I've been interviewing people for a while, and last year, sometime in June, um, there's a politician, Sliwa, Curtis Sliwa. He was running for Republican side of the New York City mayor, and someone want me to interview him, his team, and I was very nervous. I was because it's not my comfort zone to interview someone I don't know, is not a musician or artist, and a politician. So what I did was I researched him. I read lots of things and watched a lot of video of his, and I find out he's a cat lover. He has 17 cats. Oh, what happened? You left? He must have, Nye must have clicked something. Yeah, okay. Are you there? Let me bring you up. So you must have clicked something.
I have
Yeah.
no idea. Jesus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were talking about interviewing, and then I find out Siwa loves cat. So I started the interview talking about cats, and that kind of warmed up our, strangeness, right? Because he
Yeah.
doesn't, because he knows I am an Andrew Yang fan, which is the opposite of Republican. But anyway, that's very interesting. So now, out of all the celebrities you have interviewed, do you find like if someone is very reserved and do not like to talk about a lot of things, uh, like how do you warm them up other than kind of easygoing, and like in the middle of the interview, do you always sense something like I sense my guest in the first 5 seconds. I think it's going to be a good show, like you know. But how do you deal with that?
It's tough because I've had those moments where I've interviewed a talent and you can tell almost right away by their tone that they're not in the mood. You can tell by the very short answers that they give that they don't want to be there. And so it makes it really tough for me because I've been doing this so long where I've gotten to the space where you realize this is a joint effort. You as the talent, you need me as the journalist to help promote your work, to help promote your brand, you know? And if you don't want to be here, why should I want to be here? You know what I mean? So it's like because I really am busy. I work for so many outlets throughout the day. I'm up so early in the morning on any given day, Monday through Friday. I write anywhere between 15 and 20 stories a day, plus interviews. It's really a lot of work. And so when you get someone in the interview space and you get the sense that they don't want to be there, I try to wrap the interview up as quickly as I can,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Um, because you realize for some people, there's no amount of jokes, no amount of icebreakers that will ease the tension for them,
mm,
right?
mm, mm,
Or just make the moment a little less uncomfortable.
mm,
Because I respect the fact that a lot of actors don't like doing interviews. I
mm,
respect it, and
mm.
they have to do it because it's part of the job.
Right.
So that goes back to my point of wanting to ask questions that they don't often get, right? To make the interview worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I try to do, especially if I know the talent is from Chicago, it's always ends up being a good interview because once I let them know I'm from Chicago too, there's so much more to talk about. How often do you get back? What kind of food do you miss when you're away? What kind of food do you eat when you come back? So that's a really good icebreaker.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where depending on what the talent is promoting, right?
Mm,
I'll try to throw in a question related to the topic or the theme that I think the subject will find fun to answer.
mm,
Like just recently, I interviewed a guy who's entering the NFT space. And I know NFTs are all the rage right now. Everybody loves NFTs. So most of my questions for him were geared around promoting his NFT,
mm,
and they were geared around why he transitioned from the television world to the digital art world, right? But in that, I asked him questions about how technology and AI and transhumanism
mm,
is affecting and influencing the digital art,
mm,
contemporary digital art space. And I felt like he really had fun answering that question,
mm,
right?
mm,
And he really gave a very long answer to that one question, right? Um, and so I'm finding that tying in fun, thought-provoking questions
mm-hmm.
related to the theme
Yeah.
also helps the talent kind of want to open up more, put
Mm-hmm.
the talent at ease, and want to, kind of relax and want to take time out to
Mm-hmm.
talk and promote their work and
Right.
not want to rush through the interview because
Mm-hmm.
they really don't want to do the interview, Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So now when I always like to ask my guests, you are from Chicago, right? And you were born in Chicago. So do you have a environment when you were younger and you I know you like gossip, reading the gossip, like what is your childhood like are you in like your parents, they are in entertainment business or they are not, or can you tell a little bit about your background?
Well, I always like to say I was raised by two hippies. My parents were definitely the flower children of the 60s and 70s, y'all heard about and read about. My father, may he rest in peace, he died over 10 years ago of cancer, but he was a musician. He played with Shaka Khan back in the day with Rufus, if anybody is familiar with Shaka Khan and Rufus. He was a blues music, blues artist and musician from he was an artist from the moment he came out of the womb and a musician to the day he died,
Wow.
right? And so I grew up in a household where music and movies and just art was heavily explored and used to not only entertain but used as therapy. Um, when I was in high school and told my parents I want to go to film school, they were like, "You sure you don't want to be a lawyer or a doctor?" Because they know the life of the struggling artist. They know what that's like, and they're like, "You sure you don't want like a real job? Um, you sure you don't want to go to college and something that's guaranteed to make you money,
Accountant.
right? And I'm like, no, I want to be a filmmaker. And they're like, okay, we'll support your dream.
Yeah.
And so they did. They supported my dream as an artist, as a filmmaker. They helped put me through film school. When I wanted to move to LA after film school, they helped pay for that. And when I was, the moments of highs and lows when you're living in LA, struggling those days, they helped bail me out of moments. So yeah, my childhood was very much, I was like that weirdo black nerd, right? I loved rock and roll. I loved old school R&B. I love to this day old school hip hop, but my first love was like 60s classic rock. Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Doors, Jimi Hendrix, because that's what my parents played. That's what we grew up listening to, right? And so then when my love of filmmaking came about through my father. My father loved horror movies.
Oh yeah.
And when we were growing up, some of y'all watching this might not know what a VHS tape is.
Yes, I know.
Okay. I know you know. Somebody watching doesn't know a VHS tape. And so we had these things called movies on VHS tapes.
Yeah.
And so we used to go to these places called Blockbuster
Yeah.
and Hollywood Video and
Right.
rent
Right.
movies. And so
Right.
every Tuesday was new movie release Tuesday. And my father, even growing up very young, the only thing we weren't not allowed to watch were sex scenes. Anything else was open. Jason, Friday the 13th, chopping people's heads off when we were a little kid. My father was like, "You want to watch it? Go ahead." Hellraiser, uh, what was his name? Freddy Krueger, all of that blood and gore, because he loved it, he let us watch it, but we weren't allowed to watch sex scenes. That's where you draw the line, right? Of
Yeah.
anything, of any movie, whether it was comedy, thrillers, we could watch whatever he was watching, but no sex. So that's how my love of film came. I'm like, wow, I want to make movies. But really, truly, it came about with John Hughes. Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink. I'm a 80s kid, right? And so everything John Hughes was fascinating to me as a young black girl. It was really the writing, and it was really how those actors brought John Hughes, the words of John Hughes, to life. So by the time I was in college, we had the indie movie scene. So then I fell in love with Hal Hartley, Jim Jarmusch. My early years of filmmaking were, growing up, there weren't filmmakers that looked like me. There weren't black female filmmakers. There just weren't. My influences were white men, right? And then Steven Spielberg was heavy influence. I already said Roger Corman was a heavy influence. Then I go to film school, and it's more history of film about white males. But they were making the type of movies and telling the type of stories that I liked. So I really didn't care about race and gender. That was never a thing for me. Of course, I was hyper aware at the time that there were not too many people that looked like me in the space. And I felt like it was my duty as someone passionate about the arts to kind of break the mold, to do my part to break the mold, right?
Yeah.
And so as I began to kind of go through 4 years of film school and start expanding my knowledge of filmmaking, then I would learn about, black filmmakers like Judy Dash, or was it Julie Dash? Daughters of the Dusk. I forget that sister's name, forgive me. And other black female filmmakers and just other filmmakers based internationally, right? So that's kind of like how my love of, like, my childhood, I was really an introverted loner kid growing up in the Midwest. In middle school, I was bullied heavily. So I found a lot of comfort retreating to fantasy world, watching movies and fantasizing about the day that I can work in the film business. Like, I had a normal household, but the world outside of my household was just, I couldn't make sense of it, right? Because like I said, in middle school, I was bullied. I didn't have a lot of friends because I was weird and a loner. And no one thought that I was like my peers that didn't think I was a typical black girl, right? Whatever that means, whatever that meant, right?
Right.
And so I only felt like the only people that understood me were the fantastical characters
Mm-hmm.
that I read about in books or watched in movies,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Right.
so thankfully my parents supported
Mm-hmm.
my dreams to be an artist, right?
You're
And
lucky. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so here I am now.
Yeah.
How many years later? I've accomplished everything I ever wanted to do in the entertainment business, with the exception of shooting a feature film and getting it in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working on several feature films for years,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm the type of writer, sadly, when a first, second draft is done, it's never done, right? And so I put it to the side and wait, and then I come back and read it again. And
Mm-hmm.
I need to get to the point where it's like, okay, Nye, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Let it go. Let it
Right.
go, right?
There's a
Um,
there's a saying, you never finish a film, you abandon it.
yeah.
But it's very
Yes.
difficult to abandon your baby, right?
Yeah, it's very difficult to abandon the baby.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So speaking of you being African American in Chicago, and is your surrounding neighborhood is or people like you or not? And also, do you, although you feel bullied, right, in high school, in the workforce, do you feel you had to prove yourself? You are so good, or you don't feel like there's a discrimination towards you because your color?
Oh gosh. Wow. Okay, so let me just so my growing up, I'll answer the first part of your question first. Growing up, I
Oh,
grew up
my,
mostly.
can I show you a funny cup?
What does it say? It's backwards on my screen. I am smiling. Oh, I am silently judging your grammar
It's
because
from
it's
the store.
backwards. It's
It's
reversed.
from the store. Yeah,
That's funny. Okay.
yeah. I am
Oh
silently
yeah. Don't read any of my work. I have so many. I have so many editors, and we still find misspellings and everything. So, um,
Anyway, you were talking about we're talking about color.
yeah. So growing up, yeah, I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood in the south suburbs of Chicago. So I didn't grow up around crime and violence or anything like that. But I was acutely aware of it. In certain parts of the city, it existed, right? Um, I was actually bullied in middle school, which I went to a predominantly black middle school, and for that reason, I was so terribly bullied in middle school that I remember begging my mother, can you please not send me to the local high school? Because the local high school that I would have gone to in my district, that I would have been required to go to, those same girls who bullied me in middle school, we would all have been going to high school together. And I said, I'm not going through this for 4 years. So I begged my mother, please don't send me to this high school. And so God bless my mother and father. They weren't wealthy people, but they managed to make it work, and they sent me to a Catholic high school that was out of district. I wasn't Catholic, not Catholic, but it was out of district. It cost a couple thousand a year or a semester to go to, right? They made it work. It was all white Catholic high school. And those 4 years were the best 4 years of my life. Okay. Coming out of being
You're
bullied in middle
you're a
school.
celebrity. You were a celebrity in your high school.
Okay, yes, I was a celebrity, right? It was a breeze. I was like, oh God. Now, wait a minute. I will be honest. I will be honest and say, growing up in a predominantly black environment, now we did have a handful of white kids that went to my middle school. We had a handful of Latino kids that went to my school. But I had never been in a predominantly white environment. So when I knew I was going to go to this predominantly white high school, I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, they're going to be so racist to me. They're going to hate me because I'm black. And it was not like that at all. Okay. I
That's
mean,
awesome.
there were instances where you heard about someone said something racist to someone, but it was not this horrible racist experience that I thought my little 12, 13-year-old mind thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
It was a wonderful experience. I went through theater, band. I was involved in the band. So yeah,
What'd you play?
I played clarinet, and I kind of tried to play the trumpet. I wasn't good at it, but I played the clarinet. And years later, I would pick up the guitar because my father was a guitarist. And so when I moved to LA, I started playing the guitar. I got a guitar teacher, and that was pretty fun. And so now to answer the second part of your question, discrimination in workforce and having to work extra hard, being a Black woman. I will say this, Ching. I've always been obviously aware that I'm a Black person, one of either the only Black person in the office or one of very few Black people in the office. And, like I said at the start of our conversation, when I moved to LA, I hit the ground running. I worked for over 15 years in various studios, various office environments, various producers, production companies. I've been in and out of offices in many capacities, worn many hats, and 99.9% of the time, I was one of a handful of Black people. Okay. With that said, I'm trying to answer this without getting long.
You know your shit. People respect you.
Well,
I'm just guessing.
I know my shit, but at the same time, you go in knowing that your fuck ups, pardon my language, will be magnified, right? Your mistakes will be magnified compared to your non-Black counterparts.
Right.
Because I've been in those situations so many times. We have to deal with the microaggressions. We have to deal with people who don't believe that we are capable of doing the job we've been assigned to do or hired to do because we are a certain race or gender. There is a belief in the world, sadly, many of you know, that if you're not a white male, then you don't know anything. Okay. People are willing to give white women the benefit of the doubt. People are willing to give Black men the benefit of the doubt when it comes to certain things because of male privilege, right? But when it comes to everyone else, it's like, oh, well, you're a woman, regardless of what your race is, you're a woman, so you might not be able to do this, that, and the other. Or can you do this, that, and the other? Or you're probably too emotional to handle this, right? I will be honest with you. When I first started out in this business, my first job at Miramax, when I would get criticized for doing the smallest little mistake, I would break down in tears. Not like boohoo crying, but I would get teary-eyed. And my boss would be like, why are you crying? And the boss couldn't understand. It's not that I'm crying because I've been criticized. I'm being crying because I made a mistake. And I'm so hard on myself. And I feel because I'm a Black woman, it's being it's magnified, right? I had to learn very early on to stop getting emotional, right? Stop, and I learned to do that by not being hard on myself, right? But then as I started to grow older in this business and started to navigate the business and start working at office to office to office and seeing how certain people are how people in high positions are treated, and realizing, wow, these people are actually stupid. These people actually don't know anything, right? I've worked for people. I've worked for bosses who are making the six figures, and they really don't know what pardon my language, they don't know their ass from their eyeballs. And they're only getting hired because of they came from another company that they may have did something great at, or their best friend got them the job. And it's like, wow, I can do everything you can do plus some, but they won't give me your job and pay me your six-figure salary because I'm a woman and or I'm a Black woman, you know? So I got to the point, Ching, it got to the point where after a while, I walked into a space knowing my worth, knowing what I'm coming to the table with. And I said, you know what? If they don't see the value, that's not my problem. But luckily, by the grace of the Most High, I was lucky. I just got lucky while every office has that challenging personality, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been lucky to work with a ton of people who are team players,
Mm-hmm.
who they welcome diverse ideas to the table. They want to be inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
They want to hear opinions
Mm-hmm.
and and brainstorming tips from people outside of the typical voices,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been lucky in that space where I decided somewhere in my late 20s, early 30s, that I was going to no longer go into any space proving anything to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
The proof was already there when you looked at the resume and you called me in and you said, yes, you're hired. I've
Mm-hmm.
already proved myself.
Right.
I am now here. What are we going to do?
Right.
That's it in a nutshell, really.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so that's so profound answer. Now, you have interviewed so many big stars like Oprah, Alicia Keys, or Nicole Kidman. Do you have like a stick out one or two experience you really find yourselves, learning or feel energized after you interview them?
Ching, let me put it to you like this. I'm that girl. This is the best way I can answer this, and give me a minute. It might be a little long winded, but I'll try to make it quick. I'm that I'm that girl who believes dreams do come true. I'm that girl who grew up in the Midwest in Chicago. Nothing special about my environment. Grew up with two parents, a brother. They worked hard. They paid the bills. They made sure me and my brother had a roof over the head. And I dreamed about working in the film business, right? That was me. I never imagined that one day I would actually work in the film business. I'm that girl that dreamed about interviewing Oprah when I was in high school. No, let me rephrase, being interviewed by Oprah. I'm the girl who said one day I'm going to make a movie and Oprah's going to interview me. I couldn't have imagined that I would actually I would be the one interviewing Oprah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are certain actors that
Mhm.
I've been a fan of, certain filmmakers that I've been a fan of all my life. And so when I got an opportunity to interview those people and share with them during the interview the influence they had on me when I was a young filmmaker, or when I was starting out in film school, or when I was starting out in the film industry, the fact that that I worked my way up in a career where I got to sit down face to face with these people and tell them,
Mhm.
this is how the impact that you've had on me.
Mhm.
Those are the interviews that I think about. Those are the interviews that I think, wow, dreams really do come true,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, there's two that really, 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 really stand out. And this is the fangirl in me, okay? I've interviewed everyone from 50 Cent, Samuel L. Jackson, Quentin Tarantino, like I said, Oprah, Denzel. I mean, you name it, right? But I'm a big fan of Doctor Who. I'm a huge fan of Doctor Who, the Doctor Who series. And one of my favorite actors is David Tennant. David Tennant played the 10th Doctor on Doctor Who. Years ago, I would be like, man, I would love to interview David Tennant. But I know the BBC, you got to know somebody. From what I've heard from my colleagues, you really got to be connected with the BBC, like in for them to give you an interview with their talent. I've heard it's very, very difficult. Um, so imagine my surprise one day where I was at an HBO event and David Tennant happened to be a guest speaker, and I was prepared to interview someone else, and then they bring up David Tennant, and I'm like, holy, right? So long story short, I got to interview David Tennant. So that's one of those moments that's like I think about often, and it makes me smile. And then last one I'll share, which is the creme de la creme for me. I'm a huge, huge fan. If anybody has watched Breaking Bad, the series Breaking
I
Bad,
love it. I love it.
I love that show so much.
Yeah.
And so a couple years ago, Bryan Cranston, who played Hank or Walter on Breaking
Yeah.
Bad,
Mm-hmm.
he was promoting another series. And I happened to be invited by the network to interview him
Mm-hmm.
for that series. So I got a chance to interview him for the
Mm-hmm.
series,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of snuck in a couple questions about Breaking Bad, which he answered.
Mm-hmm.
So then I remember this so well because I conducted my interview with him. It was my birthday weekend. The very next day, Vince Gilligan was hosting a panel for the first season of Better Call Saul, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe it was the second season of Better Call Saul. And everyone who had been on Breaking Bad was now participating in Better Call Saul,
I
and
see.
they were there for this panel discussion. Mike was there, Vince was there, um, Bob Odenkirk was there, like all these people were there, and I'm like, holy crap! Bryan Cranston one day, all the makers of Breaking Bad, plus Better Call Saul the next day. I got a chance to interview all of them, and now I add that on the list of when I think back on all the people that I interview, those are the ones that really warm my heart, make me smile, and make me think back to that young girl
Mm-hmm.
who dreamed about working in film,
Mm-hmm.
actually did it, and then now it's weird. I'm on this weird trajectory where if I think about it, it happens. If I manifest it, if I say I want to interview this person, it comes to fruition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's strange. Like I'll get an email 2 days later. Hey, do you want to? My mother. Let me give you a quick example. My mother loves Catfish, MTV Catfish, that series. The new season of Catfish is about to start Tuesday. My mother has been watching Catfish for years. Couple weeks ago, she's like, "Have you interviewed Neve? Neve is the host from Catfish." I'm like, "No, but he's so handsome. I would love to interview Neve." I'll be damned if last week MTV didn't reach out. Hey, the new season of Catfish is starting. Do you want to interview Neve and Cammy? And I'm like, absolutely. So my interview with them is gonna post next week. So then I go tell my mother, I'm like, Ma, you won't believe this. You just asked me about Neve and Catfish. I just did an interview with this guy. And so, speak breaking the ice, as we were talking about earlier, when
Mm-hmm.
I was interviewing Neve, I could tell he seemed a little tired. I think he's got some newborn babies. I don't know, or maybe he was just tired from promoting. But he was a fun interview. But I could tell he probably seemed a little exhausted. So
Mm-hmm.
when I mentioned to him that my mother loves him and that she's been watching him for years, he just kind of lit up, right? And I
Yeah,
could
that's
see he
nice.
got real comfortable at that point, and he
Yeah.
started making a jokes about my mom watching him, and so yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And I have actually two questions related to being a journalist. I have a New York City pass, a police pass that I can go over if there's any barricade. For you to go to these events, how did that work? Like, does the people hire you to? I guess when you interview them, do you mostly you write about it, right? It's not a video that there you posted on, like, the website. So it's writing. So how do you get in? Like, does the company let call them, talk to production, say give your name, and then you have to go there, get a credential? How does that work?
Well, before COVID, okay, most of the interviews that I did before COVID, 95% of them were phoners. They were just telephone interviews. And after the interview wrapped, I would send the audio to a transcriber, and I just have the transcriber transcribe it, then I type it up and edit it. Not type it, I wouldn't type it, I would just edit it into a final piece, right? Then COVID hit, or let me back up. So if I wasn't doing a phoner, then when I was living in California, I would be invited to interview the person face to face. And usually it's just your name is on a list, right? When you get there, the studio knows they have a point person of contact. You just check in. My name is on the list. I'm here for the so and so interview or whatever. They just let me in, right? If it's a event like a panel, like the Television Critics Association, or there's a lot of TV events that go on throughout the years.
Emmy,
Um, yeah,
Grammy,
Emmys,
whatever.
yeah, award shows. Then
Yeah.
usually I'll have a badge. At a check-in, I'll just go get a badge. If I get invited to a screening before a movie comes out, they'll invite me to a screening to watch the film so I can write a review. then yeah, it's just my name is on a list. Then they'll let me in. Now I've gotten to the point where I just ask for a virtual screening, a virtual link. Just send me a virtual screener. So luckily the studios are especially post COVID, the studios are more open to that now. They'll send you a virtual watermarked link, so you can watch the movie. But lately, after COVID, and then even during COVID, most of my interviews switched to Zoom. So I do a lot of video interviews now because celebrities want to do video interviews. So most of my video interviews are done on Zoom, and then they end up being, I send them off to an editor, my video editors, and my once the editor turns it around, it gets published on whatever outlet that I'm working for. And so that's just about it. I don't mostly need like a hard copy credential, because I don't generally go to a courthouse to cover anything. In that case, then I would need a press pass, right? I don't personally go out, when a year ago or 2 years ago, when the Black Lives Matter was here protesting, with George Floyd and some of the protests that were going on. A part of the journalist in me wanted to go out with my camera and film, but then the very sane woman who wants to stay alive and not get arrested and not get accidentally shot with a rubber bullet, I decided to stay my ass in the house. And
I went. I went to film 3 events. Yeah, I went to film 3 events in New York City.
Yeah, I said I'm staying in the house.
Yeah.
Because I just don't trust the space. I never felt like I would feel safe in any space that is protesting with the potential of violence.
Because we were told the Black Lives Matter protest will become a riot actually in New York City. But I still went, and it was very peaceful. So you never know. Yeah. And in the audience, I wanted to thank our audience to be with us. Shark Fang, thank you. Nadaya, thank you. And also Louis earlier there. And I know some people are not writing anything, but they're still there with us because some people do not have a YouTube account, whatever. Now, Nadaya asked you, made a comment and asked you a question. Would you like to answer that?
Okay, let's see here. As a young Black male blogger trying to make it into the entertainment via the bridge of journalism, I found that I can only make media context through connecting local news to presidential elections. And we have the midterms going up. Okay. I see his next question is, I live in Somersville, Massachusetts. What topics do you think I should bring to the next presidential election? Ooh, this is good.
Nadanya.
Okay, this is good because I really have a very heavy, I should say serious opinions when it comes to politics. First of all, I would gear if I were in your position, I would gear my questions around what am I passionate about politically, right? What do I want politicians to bring to the table that will affect and or better my community, better my culture, better my people, right? Right now, I feel like politicians create a lot of laws that benefit all Americans, which is good, right? We all need a hand up, especially post-COVID. Nothing wrong with that. But we're getting to the point now as a Black American, my question specifically would be geared around what tangibles are you politicians bringing to the Black community? What tangibles are we voting for? What tangibles are you offering? I don't want to hear anything about what laws and bills you're talking about, what laws and bills you want to discuss. What laws and bills are you going to support that will pass that will benefit foundational Black Americans? How are we going to address systemic racism? How are we going to curb the type of gun violence that we saw affect not only these children in Texas, but the 10 Black people that were just killed, our elders that were just slaughtered in Buffalo? And then I heard this morning that 6 more people were slaughtered somewhere in the Midwest. I forget what area. We have to look that up, but I heard this morning there was another shooting of 6 individuals this morning. But yeah, sir, my questions personally would, regardless of the political affiliation, right? Democrat, Republic, it doesn't matter. And if you don't want to be race specific, I understand some of us don't want to bring race into the politics. Okay, that's fine. What are the issues that are plaguing us right now? And so my question to you, sir, I would gear my questions, think about what changes you would like to see made in your community or in the nation overall, and gear your questions in a way that are questions about how, who, what, where, why, and how we're going to bring change and address issues related to X, Y, and Z. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Nadaya is very interesting. He he lives in Massachusetts, and when I was working and volunteering for Andrew Yang in New Hampshire, which is the second important state for primary, and Nadaya one day came with another reporter. He is a journalist working for the local paper, I would say. So they came to a function where we were, Yangon were. So I was very, I don't know, bubbly. Also a it's also a karaoke night. So I was singing karaoke and I was very friendly with Natalia. And next thing you know, he emailed me, I think, says if he can interview me. So actually, we had an interview in my host's family house, and it was a lengthy interview. So very well, very good job. It's an interview with I video the thing, and it's a writing thing for him. His publication was in the paper.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, and very nice. So thank you, Nadaya, for your question. Now, speaking of, yeah, we are 5:07 now. Can I ask you a silly question? How do you think of this very popular right now, the current trial between Johnny Depp and his ex-wife? Do you watch those at all?
Okay, can I just say this? You just asked the wrong person. Girl, let me just say this. Let me just go off for one
Because
second.
you like the you say you when you were young you like these
Oh, I
tragedy.
have been glued to this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. In the beginning, I will admit, in the beginning, when Amber Heard first kind of started testifying,
Yeah.
I was believing her. I was team Amber Heard. I was like, justice for Amber. But as the trial unfolded and her performance just got more and more fantastical, and as more people began to testify, and as more physical evidence began to be presented, I'm like, wait a minute, this woman is not a victim of domestic violence. It sounds like perhaps both of them got a little bit crazy with each other when they were under the influence of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
They were probably both toxic for each other. They probably both got physical with each other, but there's no way Amber Heard is a victim of domestic violence. Point number one, we all heard the tapes if you've been watching the trial. She didn't sound like anybody that was scared of Johnny the Monster. She never once sounded like someone who was being brutalized or victimized by this brute man. Um, Amber Heard herself, you hear her on camera on the audios when Johnny wants to leave. He's like, I want to leave. Let me go. Let me go. She won't let him leave. Ask any woman who's a real victim of abuse. If her abuser wants to give her a moment of peace by leaving the house, she's going to accept that. She's not going to beg her abuser to stay with her, right?
Yeah.
Number two, she presented no physical evidence, no convincing physical evidence that she was physically abused by this man. And the icing on the cake for me, ladies and gentlemen, when Johnny's dynamic lawyer showed the surveillance camera of James Franco coming to visit Amber at all hours of the night for a night of probably sex and drugs all night, the two of them, who knows, what woman of abuse is going to invite another man to the home of her abuser another man to visit her late at night, caught on camera, Johnny Depp's camera, right? No woman who's really abused is going to invite another man to the home that she shares with her abuser. Amber Heard, shut it down. It's a wrap for you. You're canceled. If the jury does not find in favor of Johnny Depp, there's no hope for any of us. There's no hope. It sends the wrong message that women can lie and make up any freaking lie on a man and be awarded, right? So, yeah, that's my take. That's my hot take.
You were really on the money. I was worried when you say I asked the wrong person. You were just joking. I think that's just amazing. It was not my culture. I think the first time I saw a little bit on my phone, just shows up on my phone. I didn't even know the thing, and then I saw more and more people talk about it. So is it because Johnny Depp is such a great actor? Like, why people are so sucked in to this whole saga?
I'll say a couple reasons. I think a vast majority of people who are watching this are longtime Johnny Depp fans. They are late 30s, 40s, and older. We've been watching Johnny Depp since we were kids. So we feel like Johnny Depp is our brother, uncle, father, lover, best friend, right? He's family. That's number one. Number two, they don't believe Amber because a lot of people either A, know someone who's been a real victim of domestic violence. They themselves have been a victim of domestic violence. Or we've seen enough real life documentaries, testimonies, Lifetime movie of the weeks about this very subject, and the themes, victims of domestic abuse and the abusers. They have a check mark. You can go down a list of check boxes of all the things that they have in common, right? Mm-hmm. Victims will lie to protect their abusers. Mm-hmm. Victims will stay in abuse longer than they should. Victims will almost they'll have that, what they call it, Munchausen. They'll sympathize greatly with their abusers, right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing about, and then on the flip side of that, abusers can be they want to isolate you from your friends and family. Mm-hmm. They will beat you to the point where they can almost kill you. Mm-hmm. Many of them have this, if I can't have you, no one can attitude. Mm-hmm. There's nothing about, Amber Heard's defense didn't present any supporting evidence mm-hmm. to prove that Johnny Depp is a typical textbook violent abuser. Mm-hmm. And wait a minute, they had to prove that part simply because his entire case is centered around mm-hmm. that article that she wrote in which she claims to be a representative of domestic violence survivors. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to say that you are a representative of domestic violence survivors, you must first prove to us you've been a victim of abuse. Mm-hmm. She hasn't been able to do that. Mm-hmm. And throughout her entire testimony, she has been caught perjurizing herself, lying. She won't take any responsibility for anything. Mm-hmm. She accused every witness that came forward to mm-hmm. testify for Johnny Depp of being a liar mm-hmm. or being a super fan, that they just wanted to be famous. They mm-hmm. wanted their 15 minutes of fame. And so everybody's looking at this like, this woman doesn't sound like a victim of abuse. Mm-hmm. She sounds like a narcissistic liar. So mm-hmm. that's why everyone is supporting Johnny Depp.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, I think I like Johnny Depp too. And he's been in so many great film, and he's just so talented, right? Whatever he plays the character, and he's just so amazing, and he's a good looking. Yeah. So I have several of your website. Shall we show one or two? Do you want to promote any of your website? You have 3.
I think I see you have Instagram there, and I see you have
this is your.
Yeah, those two are perfect. Those two are perfect.
No, you have like a website. Do you want to show people or
oh,
not?
It's not live yet. It's not live yet.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm still building it. Okay. It's ready, but it's not ready.
Any real like you have this, do you want to show the earlier, you have a YouTube channel with some videos. There's one called Zootopia Sloth,
Yeah,
correct?
that is an interview. Yeah, that's a little fun interview I did when I was invited. Was that Disney? I think Disney invited me to their little work studio to watch
Shall
the
we show it now?
animators.
Do
Yeah,
you
you can
want?
go ahead and show that. That's fine.
It's a fun thing, right?
Yeah, that's probably when I was about 20 pounds lighter. I was skinnier in that
Oh,
video.
oh, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
we gained a lot of weight during COVID.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Can you see it?
so
Can
I
you
can
see?
see it. I can
Okay.
see it.
Ny
Yeah.
MaGee from EUR Web talking to the
Okay.
fabulous
Wait.
Flash from
Volume.
Zootopia. Hello, Flash.
How come there's no
Hello,
sound?
I hear it.
Oh, okay.
Nye
Okay.
Hello, darling.
from E
I don't hear.
U
I don't know what I do.
R Web
Web, that's right. My question for
dot com.
This
you.
always
Yes.
makes me
My
laugh.
question
How
for you
come
today
I don't
is,
hear the sound?
in an alternative universe,
Sure.
one in which you're not a fabulous sloth,
Maybe it's in here.
what would your lifestyle be,
Mm,
and
no.
what would your job be?
So what is this
Zootopia.
camera anyway?
Zootopia. This was a
Yeah.
film Disney
Could
released a
you
couple years ago.
repeat
Yeah, Zootopia is this film
the
we did. Disney. I'm sorry, it's playing in my ears. Let me
Yeah.
turn it down a little bit because this was distracting me. Yeah. So Zootopia was a film Disney released a couple years ago, and they invited me to the Disney lot. I forget where we were. Maybe it was DreamWorks Animation Studio. I'm not sure. Pixar.
Mm,
I know it's Disney film, but I don't remember what lot we were actually on.
mhm.
With the animation team behind this, and they showed us the process of drawing the sloth. That was the sloth character that's actually in the film. And so part of that day was meeting the animators, um, having lunch with the animators, and then going into like the Muppetry aspect of it
Mm,
all,
mm,
and the workarounds, the mechanics behind that sloth that you just saw me with.
mhm.
And they allowed all the journalists to have a little fun mock interview with the sloth. So
Yeah,
that's
I
what you
saw
that's
that
what you
as well.
just saw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's fun. Now, do you have anything you're working on right now you wanted to brag about? Any
Oh,
project?
yeah, I am finishing up a script about I think it's a really wonderful well, every writer thinks their work is wonderful. I'm working on a script right now about a pastor and his sermon. And so outside of that, I am casting right now a series, a very, very short series that I'm filming here in Chicago, hopefully this summer. And I'm about to launch at the end of this month a writing contest for writers. It's a flash fiction writing contest, 1,000-word flash fiction, $200 cash prize. The themes around the flash fiction contest revolve around AI, artificial intelligence, alien, UFOs, and those themes tied into society, man versus AI, society versus AI, government versus AI or UFO. And so my own personal website, along with the website for the writing contest, the AI writing contest, will be launched into this. Oh, we are at the end of this month, May. So probably end of this first week of June coming
Mhm,
up, we'll have
mhm.
it all launched, and I'll have the links for that posted on my Facebook and Instagram. So if anybody's following me on Facebook and Instagram, you'll see the links once they go live. And of course, I'll be on Clubhouse, and we'll make mention when it goes live on Clubhouse. So that's what I'm staying busy. Of course, I got tons of celebrity interviews lined up coming up in the future, and that's it in a nutshell.
Do you find Clubhouse that you will open a room yourself sometimes, or you already have
I I used to open up rooms. I had a partner that I would do the rooms with, but she got busy on work because the only time we could really do it on Saturday. And the only reason why I don't open up rooms is because I never really have anyone to go in and go with me. I just don't want to go live by myself. You know, I just
Okay.
I don't want to be like, oh, here I am.
Yeah, I'll come. Shark Fin will come. Louis will come. Nadaya
Yeah,
will come.
yeah.
Nowhere.
So
Yeah,
I've been wanting to go live and have so much to say, but I'm like,
yeah. But
uh,
I'm sure if you have a room, people knew you from Darren Dangju room.
right,
No,
exactly. They'll come in.
they will come. And
Yeah,
I find how I start a room, and gradually I have 3.3K people in my club talking about smartphone. It doesn't come, immediately. It really takes a while to build
yeah,
up. And you really need to go other room. I go to other room a lot, and I sit there, and then I often raise my hand. At the beginning, nobody knows me. They won't invite
yeah,
me. I raise my hand. I go there to talk about
yeah,
something. I don't know
yeah,
what,
yeah,
whatever. So you kind of build this community. You have to talk. It's very time consuming thing.
yeah,
It's very,
absolutely.
yeah. So anyway, if you want to do it, you have some base now, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was
Yeah.
doing that. I said to myself when I joined Clubhouse, I said, I didn't have any goal in mind because I don't use social media that much. But
Mm.
I said I want to use Clubhouse, and if I can get 1,000 followers on Clubhouse in 6 months, I'll be happy. And I did that. I got over 1,000 followers in 6 months just by
Good.
going into other people's rooms and
Yeah.
talking on their stages.
Yeah.
So if I imagine if I started just opening up and hosting my own rooms,
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
increase that. So
Right.
maybe, right around the time I start launching, when I announce the Flash Fiction contest on Clubhouse,
Mm.
probably this weekend, I'll announce it.
Mm.
Maybe I'll be more consistent and start hosting more rooms because
Yeah.
I do have a lot to say. As an entertainment journalist,
Right.
I get a lot of people when I go into other people's rooms and speak. I get a lot of people who hit me on the back end
Yeah.
who are in this space as well. They're
Right.
also digital journalists, they're bloggers, they're vloggers. They want to know, how can I do this?
Right.
How can I get an interview with a celebrity? How do I set up a WordPress blog?
Mm-hmm.
How can I integrate my video with my audio? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm always giving people little tips on the back end. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking about hosting rooms
Mm-hmm.
like you do smartphone rooms.
Yeah.
I could do blogging rooms.
Yeah.
So many people ask, and even if it's 2 or 3 people in there,
Yeah.
that's 2 or 3 people that need to know that information at that time. So
Right.
I could probably be this. I'll get in the habit
Yeah.
of starting in June, making that to expand my own brand.
Yeah.
I should utilize Clubhouse
Yeah.
more for me instead of just going into other people's rooms and talking. Yeah, you're right.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
And you'd have some base.
yeah,
Now,
yeah, yeah,
you do a lot of interviews for specific publication.
yeah.
So where can people like me or Shark Fin or Nadaya or Louis, do we have a place we can see your writing?
Absolutely. Okay, first of all, if you click on that Facebook link, facebook.com, where it
Uh,
says writer Ny MaGee, I do have 2 Facebook profiles. One is my very private profile where I just go on there and talk mad shit about politics,
yeah.
and I talk shit about Republicans and Democrats and just everything, right?
Uh-huh.
But then I have my
First,
writer Ny MaGee, my page, that one right there that you see.
yeah.
And that's the one that I usually post my links to the outlets that I work for, thegrio.com.
Oh, these. Yeah.
Yeah, those exactly.
Okay.
EURweb.com, Emmys.com. Now I've been so busy, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be honest with you. I'm up at like 4 a.m. to like 7 a.m.
Uh-huh.
writing, and pumping out interviews
Yeah.
that go live immediately for their respective websites. But
Yeah.
I don't always have time to then come back and share the link on this page.
Oh,
So I need to do that today and come
yeah.
and update my page. But yeah,
What is
um,
this? David
that,
Chappelle.
that is a story that I wrote. All the stories that are on this page are stories that I've written.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
These are not stories from other outlets that I'm sharing on this
Uh-huh.
page.
Okay.
These are stories that I've actually written that
Oh,
that I share on this page. Yes.
okay.
Mhm.
That's cool. That's cool. Thanks for letting
And
us.
now, if you scroll back up, where you saw those links, where on the
Okay.
side panel
Yes,
for anybody watching, yeah, go back up. Yeah, right there where it says EUR Web, the Griot, Emmys. Those are usually live daily. So
Oh,
starting tomorrow,
uh-huh.
I publish on EUR Web every day.
Oh,
So even if you don't see a new post on
uh-huh.
my Facebook profile, if you click
Yeah.
on that EUR web link, you
Okay.
would see my most recent stories.
Okay. Do
The
they give you
Emmys,
vodka? Do they give you vodka?
vodka, no. Well, listen, the benefit of working from home is if I want to, I can sip some vodka while I'm working, right? I can already be sipping the vodka while I'm here. That's the benefit of working from home.
Well, that's awesome.
And
That's
no
awesome.
one knows.
Yeah. So great. Yeah, I have your site, so I wanted to look into because I wasn't really sure what to look for.
Yeah,
Now I understand. Now I
yeah.
understand. So yeah, and I usually do. We're at 5:25 already. Would you like me to do a game with you? It's called Rapid Fire. Like
Okay.
ask some stupid questions.
Sounds like let's do it. Sounds fun.
Oh, I have before the stupid question. I do have a question. Is like
I'm gonna touch up my lipstick while you're talking. Go
oh,
ahead.
lipstick. I do have a question. It's not that stupid. So I've been doing this interview, right? And I see people, and then I interview them on my YouTube channel. Not everybody is like a celebrity, my guest. So but I like to interview people I feel interested with, or either my friend or people who are creative, people have subject project going on. So do you have any suggestions how to get more people that I can talk to?
Absolutely. Well, and you mean you want to expand your world? I mean, you're open to
Yeah,
people from there. Yeah,
I feel like I talk to so many filmmakers and so many musicians, composers. I like to talk to people who are doing different things.
yeah. Well, I would start with what I find that social media is so beneficial to tap into other communities, right? Whether you're using Twitter, Instagram, and or Clubhouse. Um, as you know, with Clubhouse, let's say you want to interview people in the tech space, people in the NFT space, let me not say people. Let's say influencers in the business space, tech space, influencers in the kind of like the mommy bloggers, women who are out there empowering other women through motherhood or through gardening or through mental health checks, right? The best way I find to tap into these communities is go into their spaces and talk to them, introduce yourself to them, building a trust with them, right? And letting them know you're a journalist, and what your needs are, who you're looking to interview, and why you want to interview them. And I find that a lot of influencers want to talk to journalists. They want to get their brands out. They want to spread their message because they know in talking to someone like you who has a platform like YouTube and follow like over a 3K followers on Clubhouse,
Five.
that
Oh, I have
or you're
5.8 followers.
see exactly. That's
Can
5,000 potential people who might see their interview.
Mhm.
So yeah, even if you're not in Clubhouse rooms, related to these topics, looking up hashtags related to the topics, like on Instagram.
Mhm.
See who the influences are in whatever topic you want to explore, whatever theme are. Look for hashtags related to that, and go onto some of the profiles or some of the pages
Mhm.
of the top content creators in these spaces. Build a rapport with them, do some co-branding with them,
Mhm.
and that's how you expand. Listen, that's how I found that I've been able. I get so many requests to do interviews, and I always think to myself, how do these people find me? How do these people find me and I can only assume it's because through social media, my social media imprint, right?
Mhm.
They've seen something or read something that I've done, heard me speak somewhere and they're following up, right? You know what I used to do a while ago when I was really heavily promoting myself on Instagram? I would always in my posts hashtag journalism, hashtag digital journalist, hashtag interview, hashtag Black Girl Magic, hashtag media. Anything related to me as an online journalist, I would put in the hashtag so that people in that industry would click on it. And I met so many publicists that way, right? So I would suggest you could do that as well. So many publicists and so many influencers would see my hashtag and then reach out like, hey, would you interview my client? Would you, I'm representing this person who's promoting this, tea, this slimming tea. So that has worked for me, Ching. So that's what I suggest. I don't see why it would work for you as well.
Yeah, no, this is so great. Yeah, when I do Instagram, I haven't done. If say the Instagram topic is say a performance, right? I would just say music. Brahms, viola, violin. I just kind of just the target to the content, but like you said, I should expand my hashtag, right? That's very useful. Yeah,
very useful.
So before we end, I'd like to hashtag please subscribe my YouTube channel for people. And YouTube channel is such like I have a 5,300 followers on YouTube. I think they say it's not only you. It's not good enough for people just subscribe your YouTube channel. It is more important for people to watch your video from beginning to the end. Then it's algorithm will pick up. Otherwise, you just have a bunch of empty subscribers. So they say it's not useful. So isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Yeah.
The ever-changing algorithms on these social media apps.
Yeah. It's kind of annoying though, in a way, right? But you kind of have to respect the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, and so let's do quick what do you call rapid fire?
Okay,
rapid
fine.
fire.
Let's do it.
Fast question, fast answer. What's your favorite color?
Pink.
What's your favorite food genre?
Food genre?
Yeah.
Italian.
Any place you want to go for vacation when you get a chance? Outside, like a foreign country.
I want to go to England because I want to see Buckingham Palace.
So funny. Any award ceremony you haven't been, you want to be covering?
I've covered the Oscars outside of the actual ceremony. So I would actually like to go to the actual Oscar ceremony one day.
That's awesome. Do you play a musical instrument? Which one? Oh, you play the clarinet.
I play the guitar.
Oh, guitar. Right. Do you sing?
I sing, but I can't sing.
Have you considered being a voiceover actor?
Yes.
I said that to you, actually. I think either I said to you in Clubhouse or what. I think you have a really interesting voice.
I've heard that.
Like your voice, has two layers. Yeah, one. Yeah, it's like a polyphony. Your voice.
I like that. I'll take that.
It's not, what do you call monophony? It's a yeah. Which book you read recently you really like and you want to recommend?
Oh God! And I'm looking at over my books, okay, because I'm reading. Okay, the most recent one I just. Oh God! Okay, I'll do this one.
Oh,
Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery.
Wow.
I have a collection that I pick up every once in a while that okay, let me read this. Let me read a chapter. So most recently I picked this up this afternoon to read again. So Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery. Yeah.
So it's kind of philosophical book, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you exercise?
I have to now because I have a very sedentary job, as you all know, as a journalist. left LA 145, moved back to Chicago and gained a considerable amount of weight. And I had a physical exam recently, and the doctor was like, yeah, you need to lose some weight and you need to exercise. So do I exercise? I am now.
Yeah, I think about exercise a lot. I don't do enough. I'm guilty. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if I take you right now to a happy hour, what would you order?
A margarita on the rocks with salt around the rim.
Sounds nice.
Agave nectar. I don't want no tree. I don't want no agave. I said agave nectar. Don't give me no cheap ass tequila.
Okay, if you have a chance to have dinner with three person, they're not necessarily entertainment celebrities. Who would you like to have dinner with?
Ooh, okay. This is gonna be random. Dead or alive, or they have to be alive.
Dead or alive?
What was that really historic Russian kind of medieval? Was his name Rasputin? Rasputin is one.
Okay. What does he do?
He
Philosopher?
he was like a Russian they some will call him a madman. Russian philosopher, healer, kind of religious, student of philosophy, kind of God in some people's eye, cult leader. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Rasputin, because I find him to be a very intriguing character from history. Another person I would have dinner with, honestly, another very fascinating, intriguing character from modern history, Queen Elizabeth II. So that would be my number 2. And number 3, I would pick my dad. My dad died over 10 years ago, and I didn't see him. My last memory of him was when he was first told he was sick. So he was in good spirits, he was in good health. But the year that I was away from home, living away from home, he rapidly deteriorated, and then he passed away. I didn't see his last year, and I guess my last memory of him is probably the good memory. So I don't even remember my last conversation with him, to be honest with you. So those would be the 3 people I would pick to have dinner with: my father, Queen Elizabeth II, and Rasputin.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great list. Great list.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. Tea or coffee?
Coffee! Hands down! Coffee!
Coffee! Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so we're wrapping up, and like the clubhouse, and last word, Nye.
Well, here are my last words. These are always my last words, whether you see me during a live interview or if I'm in a clubhouse room and they ask me any last words. My last words are always, don't dream it, be it. If you've ever watched the Rocky Horror Picture Show, one of my favorites, when I was a young girl growing up, when I first saw the Rocky Horror Picture Show, the movie musical, that song, don't dream it, be it, that phrase, don't dream it, be it, that became my motto. And I went through high school and college just determined to be a filmmaker by any means necessary, determined to crack into the entertainment industry by any means necessary. And that the running theme in my mind was always, don't dream it, be it. Don't dream it, be it. Don't dream it, Manai. You can do it. Just be it. And I dreamt it, and now I'm living it. So my last words to you all, don't dream it, be it.
Wow, that's great. That's great. All right, my last words. Number 1, I just posted here. My Young Gun Diary, which it's a documentary I worked on for 3 years now, and it's out there on Vimeo on demand. It's a 90-minute, and I shot the whole thing on iPhone 11. So when you get a chance, people, and check it out. It's on Vimeo. And my other words is, I always believe one thing leads to another. Similar to a nice saying, and I just believe we must do one thing, and then another thing will follow. And yeah, so Thank you so much, Nye, for spending time with me and our guests. And I know you're very busy, but it's a really fun conversation with you.
Well,
And
thank you, Ching.
yeah, and I'm sure I see you again.
And I just want to shout out to Tech for Your Needs. He says, yes, I will be there, Ny MaGee, if you open a room. Tech for Your Needs, God bless you. It might just be you and me in there, but I'm just kidding.
Me too. I'm the light bulb. Do you
I'm
know
just
the light
kidding.
bulb? You know the light bulb in Chinese way. Okay, if a couple is together, like a dating, right? There's another person comes in. That person is a light bulb.
Oh, like the third wheel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
joking. I'm just you said you and him. I said I'll come.
And you'll be
I'm
the
the
light
light
bulb.
bulb.
Okay, perfect. The Trinity will be
Yeah,
the
and
Trinity.
Lewis is coming in too. You know, and then he's a
Perfect.
light bulb too.
We'll turn it into a party.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I had fun, Ching. Thank you so much for speaking to me. I'm always honored and really just over the moon when anybody ever wants to just chat with me. So thank you so much. I'm really grateful for this moment. Thank you. And anybody, everyone who tuned in, and anybody watching later, thank you for watching us.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, so I'm gonna click on end broadcast to our guest first, and thank you everybody for being with us, making comments. It's a great fun. All right, have a great Sunday.